I was coming cause you heard my name, but you don't know my game and never felt my pain. Can't read my brain, but you read my lips and got scared when you heard that I was coming with hits. Now don't even trip, be a man instead. Give thanks I'm alive when I should be dead. I'm in the red cause my mind's distorting. People claiming they know me, but they only know a portion.
What up, America? If you're ready for President Trump to take the stage, I need everybody to stand up. I need everybody to put a fist up in the air. Everybody, get a fist up in the air. Now follow me. Say fight, fight. Say fight, fight. I'm an American badass. Watch me, kid. You can roll with pride, or you can.
You knew that I was coming.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us, for watching, for listening to Political Badass. It's a brand new podcast with myself, Eric Simpkin, and my partner in crime, Damon Galdo. Damon, introduce yourself.
I'm Damon Galdo, my buddy here, Eric Simpkin. First podcast, and we're looking forward to getting out the facts to everybody. That's why we're doing this, because it's important, because mainstream media, you can't trust it. So that's why, we decided to do this.
So why did I decide to do this? I've been taking action now for several years, since about 2020. I started realizing that there is something very wrong in America, so much so I've been looking for ways back to get to America. So how did I do it? I started out fighting the school boards. My daughter came home to me one day. She says, "Dad, they asked me in history class today. They said, who flies an American flag at their house?" So, of course, I asked her, I said, "Hey, you told them none of their business, right?" "Absolutely, Dad." But the lesson went on to be how that's racist. Can you imagine? It's racist to fly an American flag at your home. And number two, why are they asking for that question to be answered by my daughter? I have no idea. But I went to that school faster than you could say racism. That problem was resolved. But I started going to school board meetings, and I started to see what type of curriculum they were promulgating in this school. It happens to be an excellent school. They did a great job educating my children. They were just old enough, they're now in college in 2020, to get through this stuff without destroying our family and the fabric of our belief system that we've been promoting to our children since the day they were born, and that is the Judeo-Christian values of the West. So I was completely befuddled, didn't understand what was going on. I'm reading the curriculum, and I see this lesson, and it says, it's a real estate 101 lesson. And it says to the kid, imagine if your home had no walls or no windows. And I'm like, what does that possibly mean? No walls, no windows. It took me a year to figure it out. What it meant is no borders. Okay. Open societies, George Soros, all these things that we're seeing and hearing and talking about today. United Nations, UNESCO, the United Nations Education and Science Committee. These are all globalist organizations that are promoting a radical ideology in our nation's schools, our government schools. And I will tell you this, if my kids were not at the age that they were, Damon, I would have pulled my kids from those schools faster than you can say globalist. I mean, I don't even know how else to put it to you. I mean, I would have pulled them. I didn't think I could, but I am standing here today saying that if I had it to do over again, even though they were juniors in high school, I would have pulled them, just to be a beacon for other parents that have younger children, because I started going to the school board meetings for the younger K to 8, and now it's pre-K to 8. They are filling these kids' heads with the most diabolical information, whether it's radical sexuality, gender theory, which is just that, a theory, okay, or critical race theory. And of course, people were telling me all over the place, hey, we don't do critical race theory in our schools. The NJEA, they said they had nothing to do with critical race theory. Guess what? They lied, they continue to lie, and they will always lie. You need to disconnect yourself and your family from these types of things occurring before it's too late. What do you say, Damon?
Well, you know that I have two young children. I have a daughter who's 10. She'll be 11 in October. My son just turned 6. And we have a more moral obligation to shield our children from any type of violence, any type of abuse, whether it's mental or physically. And I do that. But when they go to school and they teach them the things that they're teaching in school, that's a problem for me. They should teach regular curriculum, and that's it. Because I believe it's mental abuse. When you look at Gavin Newsom, what was it called? The Safety Act that he just passed, in California, that where a teacher is prohibited from telling the parents that the child thinks the member of the opposite sex, a different gender. Now, I'll tell you one thing. My daughter is older than my son. So when my son was born, he played with my daughter's toys. They played together, their brother and sister. So am I supposed to think that he's a girl because he played with dolls with my daughter? No,
Absolutely not. Didn't your son one time think that he was Spider-Man because he was watching Spider-Man?
absolutely. Yeah. I gave a speech for the New Jersey Project one time, and we had protesters show up, and they were screaming trans kids are kids too. So I went over and I spoke to them. Most of them wouldn't talk to me, but there was a gay couple there that probably in their late 20s, early 30s, roughly, and they were nice. They were willing to talk to me, and I have no problem with anybody being gay when you're an adult. Do what you want to do. It's fine. Just leave the kids out of it. So I asked them the question, why they were here, and because they knew why I was there. And they said, well, children as young as 2 years old know that they're a member of the opposite sex. And I asked them, I said, where is that study at? I would like to read it. And they couldn't cite it. So then I told them the story. I said, well, my son and I just watched Spider-Man. I said, and he thought he was Spider-Man for about 10 minutes. He's shooting webs and stuff like that. We had fun. We played around with it. And then I had to tell him he's not Spider-Man. Because if I told him he was, and he climbed up on the rooftop and tried to sling a web to another roof, I don't think it would work out that well for him, would it?
I don't think so at all, Damon. And I'm going to tell you something. If my daughters ever came home to me and said, Dad, I think I'm a boy, I would say, I hear you loud and clear. Maybe you do think that, but the operative word there is think. Okay.
Yeah.
It's in your mind. Okay. But genetically and scientifically, okay, every cell in your body has your DNA in it that has chromosomes that determine really at conception whether or not you're a boy or a girl. And I will tell you, okay, to anyone that's listening, and I would ask that you promote this to anyone who's not listening. Okay. There are two sexes. There is no such thing as gender, and there are unlimited personalities. And really, that's how it lays down, Damon. I mean, realistically, gender is just an observance of yourself and how you see yourself and how you want other people to see you. Okay. But this radical ideology that's being promoted in schools is contrary to that. And it's contrary to the values, virtues, and beliefs of many, many families. And aside from the religious beliefs, okay, we have a scientific issue here where we're saying it used to be America, you can be anything you want to be. Okay. And I believe that wholeheartedly. I never thought I'd be sitting here on a podcast. I certainly never thought I would have run for school board, township committee, or work really diligently to take back over and control of our local county GOP by getting rid of people that are making poor decisions on the voters' behalf. I never thought I'd be called to do that. And that brings me to the Judeo-Christian values of the West. Okay. I happen to be Jewish. I get along with anybody that's any religion. But if you go back to Genesis, God said to Abraham, and he called out to Abraham when he was asking Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac, okay, to prove his loyalty to the one God. And he called out to Abraham. It was very simple. And God said to Abraham, according to Genesis 22, Abraham. And Abraham's answer is, here I am. And here I am has resonated with me my entire life. And it resonated with me so much that it was brought back into my life just yesterday when I was watching the Charlie Kirk show at one of the events he's holding. And he was talking about in Judaism, the word here I am, and it's defined and translated as Hineni, here I am. And on the high holidays, what happens is that there's a cantor, a prayer leader in a synagogue that prays on behalf of the members of the synagogue that are there. And this poem was written in the Dark Ages, probably around the 1400s, maybe the 1200s or 1100s. I'm not sure. But the prayer starts out like this. And keep in mind, this is a leader of a synagogue that's praying on behalf of the members there. And it says, Hineni, here I am, deficient in meritorious deeds, trembling awe-stricken fear of the one who is enthroned upon the praises of Israel, standing and pleading before him on behalf of his people Israel, who have sent me, though I am unworthy and unqualified for the task. So let me be the first to admit, everybody, I am not qualified for the task to lead everybody to a way to save America, but I am connected and immersed, and I would like to dedicate this first episode to someone that I really look up to and admire. And today, that man, Stephen K. Bannon, is in prison because he took a stand. He was received a subpoena from the sham January 6th committee, and he refused to testify against Donald J. Trump because Donald J. Trump was the president at the time, invoked privilege, and told Stephen K. Bannon that the conversations we had regarding that were privileged. Stephen K. Bannon, along with Peter Navarro, who also, defied the same type of subpoena from the sham January 6th committee. He served 4 months in prison, and right now, Stephen K. Bannon is serving 4 months himself in Danbury, Connecticut, and that is preposterous. He is a leader of the MAGA movement. And when I sat down and talked to the GOP chairperson that we wanted to have removed and bring in a new one so we can start electing some leadership here in South Jersey so that we can have some representation for all the taxation that we endure, he actually said to me, Eric, I'm really not MAGA. And I said to myself, wow.
Who isn't MAGA? How can you not be MAGA?
Well, what's it mean?
Make America Great Again.
How is an American not make America great again? And here's the leader of a GOP party in a county telling me he's not MAGA. I was completely shocked. But guess what? There's a new day because we did elect a new leader. Okay. And one of the things that I carry with me all the time, as you know, Damon, I've given out thousands of these, is the Pocket Constitution and the Pocket Declaration of Independence. Every time I want to remember why I'm here doing this, why did I answer that call and say, here I am? It's because the words in this small booklet, okay, it's not a lot of words. It's under 10,000 words between the two. But it reminds us each and every time about what our God-given unalienable rights are as Americans. My family came to this country legally. I'm sure so did yours, and so did most people out there. They came legally. They came ready to sign up for a social contract, and that contract is based on the Judeo-Christian laws and rule of law that we've adopted here in America. And we now have a completely open border, okay, that's allowing millions of people to come into our country that don't believe in the rule of law and based on those Judeo-Christian values and want to change it effectively. And right now, we just saw this week Kamala Harris be installed as the nominee, or really the more than likely nominee for the Democrat Party, taking out Joe Biden. Anyone that's got a pulse and breathes air knows that Joe Biden hasn't been fit for office since before he took office. It's preposterous. Let's just take a look at what Kamala Harris represents, okay?
We're going to have 2 million people cross this border for the first time ever. You're confident this border is secure?
We have a secure border in that is a priority for any nation, including ours and our administration.
Okay.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
I'm here in Guatemala today. At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand.
Thinking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs. And there is such great significance to the passage of time when we think about a day in the life of our children. When we talk about our children, I know for this group, we all believe that when we talk about the children of the community, they are the children of the community.
Over the summer, there have been protests and demonstrations in astronomical numbers standing with Palestine, but then just a few days ago, there were funds allocated to continue backing Israel, which...
The fact that your voice, your perspective, your experience, your truth should not be suppressed.
because I represent the whole of the United States of America.
Oh my God.
Okay. Is anyone out there vomiting in their mouth right now? I mean, seriously, how could you possibly walk into a voting booth or sign an early or a mail-in ballot and literally check off that box that checks off for Kamala Harris? I don't get it.
I don't get it either. I mean, we're going to vote for the laughing bus lady that loves buses.
Well,
and
only
Venn
because they're
diagrams.
yellow. She only loves yellow school
only
buses.
yellow school
I mean,
buses,
I've never
that's right.
seen a non-yellow school
But
bus.
how do you be the leader of the free world? Somebody like that, we're talking about the children of the community because they're children of the community. I mean, okay, I get it. They
Okay.
are.
Well, let's unpack that a little bit. Okay. Children of the community. Okay. Let's think back to Hillary Clinton. Okay. It takes a
village.
A village. It takes a village to raise a family. I'm here to tell you, okay, that the best way to raise a family is a mother and a father in a household with children.
You're
okay?
absolutely right. You're absolutely right, because a two-parent household back in, say, it was like 1940, there was 4% of single family homes, and that was 4%. That was it, because maybe there's a reason. Maybe somebody died in a war, and there was a single mother at home. Now we're at 47% single parent homes. I apologize, single parent homes, and that's a problem. And when you talk about being raised on the Judeo-Christian values, 73% of people went to church back in 1940. Now today, it's down to 40% of people that go to church.
So why do you think that is, Damon? Let me ask you, why do you think less people are going to church? Do you think it has anything to do with the fact that during COVID that the churches, synagogues, and mosques were locked down and you were unable to attend them? Do you think it's because there's been this radical ideology that's been infused into all of our institutions, whether it's education, learning, banking, government, churches, synagogues, etc.? I mean, what is really going on here that's making people take a step back and step away from God and those values in their daily lives? I mean, what is it that's forcing it? I mean, I find myself more drawn to those things and ideals because I'm looking for answers to try and explain why these things are happening, and then what do we need to do as a culture and as a society to stop it? I mean, what do you think's going on with people and less people being involved in their churches and synagogues?
Well, I believe COVID may have something to do with it as well, because people they weren't allowed to go to church, which is bullshit. But I think it's the removal of institutions. I think it's like the communist, socialist, Marxist agenda that our government has, that our elected leaders have, and they want to remove God from families, remove God from schools, remove God out of everything. I mean, it says right on our money, "In God we trust." I mean, that's what our nation was founded upon. And you don't have to believe in God to live by those values, but they're the values that have a civil society. And without those values, then it'll destroy the social fabric of this country, and the country cannot survive on that.
So I don't think this all started with George Floyd in the Summer of Love in 2020. Do you?
No, not at all.
I mean, I'm looking at a document right here. It's called the Communist Goals Congressional Record, Appendix A34, A35, January 10th, 1963. Okay, there's a member of Congress, and they're basically going through what is the communist agenda. They're trying to eradicate communism. I mean, you look at some of these things that they were trying to do in 1963. I mean, it's glaringly obvious. Gain controls of student newspapers, get control of the schools, use them as transmission belts for socialism and current communist propaganda, soften the curriculum, get control of teachers' associations, put the party line in textbook, use student riots to foment public protests against programs or organizations which are under communist attack.
Is that going on right now?
Is it going on right now? You tell me. I mean, go to a college campus. I mean, I have a daughter that went to Rutgers, couldn't leave her room, the last week of school to go take her finals because all these radical lunatics are protesting. They're basically saying that they're anti-Israel. I will explain to you like this, okay, everybody that's watching and listening. The people that are protesting, that are saying they're anti-Israel or pro-Hamas, they're not anti-Israel just because they hate Jews. They may hate Jews, okay? They may be anti-Semites, but I really think it's deeper than that. They are anti-Israel because they are anti-America.
Yes, they
Okay.
are.
When you look at the book Deuteronomy, which is one of the 5 books of Moses, and it's in the King James Bible as well. One of my favorite passages from there is Deuteronomy 6:7, and thou shalt teach them diligently to thy children. Them is the word of God. That is the parents' right and responsibility and sole purpose to make sure that the values, virtues, and beliefs that were instilled in us from countless generations before us are able to be instilled into our children, future grandchildren for countless generations ahead. And the things that they're doing in school are going to put a stop to all that because they are becoming the mommy. They are becoming the daddy. They are becoming the religion. DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, is the Communist Manifesto of 2020 and beyond, and it needs to stop, and it needs to stop right now. There's only one thing that's going to stop it, and that is the grassroots Americans, real Americans, as Hulk Hogan would say. Okay, Trumpomaniacs running wild, right? That's what we need to have happen. Turning point action. Okay, great source of knowledge, information, literature, scorecards on your legislators, and they've got an app where you can literally sit there and pull it up. I was testing it out the other day. I made my first 15 phone calls to neighbors. It brings up the 15 most closest people that are registered Republicans or independents or unaffiliated, whatever you want to call it, and you just give them a call with a simple message. I need you to step up, vote your conscience on in November, and there's got to be a huge push for early voting. We cannot make excuses as to why we don't show up on election day. The only way to change this is to elect new officials, okay? Starting with Donald J. Trump and J.D. Vance in the White House, and from there all the way down and from the bottom up. Every school board race, we need to fill every school board ballot, okay? New Jersey, that ends the 29th, which is Monday. You got to have your school board petitions in. If there's anybody in Camden County area that needs petitions signed, okay, I will go out the rest of the day and help you get them signed so you could submit them tomorrow. If you know me, you know how to find me. If you don't, look me up. I will help you. I'll do anything I can so that I can help guide you in a direction that's going to achieve victory from the bottom up and the top down. If you can't get on to Turning Point, check out Trump Force 47. I literally got a phone call from them the other day, and they were asking me, how are you going to vote? I said, Ultra MAGA. How do you think I'm going to vote? They were laughing. But in all seriousness, how am I going to vote? I'm going to vote early. I did it last year. It was a great experience. There was no line. Little bit of a waste of money in South Jersey. I think they had 8 people there for 2 weeks. They only got about 67 people to vote early in my district. That's okay. I took advantage of it. I want to have 6,000 people there early voting. We don't get enough people to vote in New Jersey. They think it's some kind of purple or blue state. I can assure you from being out there and everywhere, it is not. I wanted to fill some seats on our Republican committee a couple weeks ago on a Friday afternoon. I said, Damon, I don't know what to do. I got 15 seats to fill. And we collaborated for about 18 seconds. And he said to me, let's send a text message out to 4 over 4 voters, which are people who vote in every primary. They're probably the lowest hanging fruit of people that are going to volunteer to do something and become part of the grassroots. Guess what? In 48 hours, Damon, what do? We got 15 people to sign up, join the Republican committee. I appointed him as chairman. And then just a week later, we had our first reorganization meeting of that committee, and we had a vote. And we voted in a woman named Kimberly Storch, who's doing a phenomenal job for the GOP in Camden County already. We have already established Republican committees from the municipal level in 8 new townships just in Camden County alone. And Camden County, New Jersey, by the way, is the 6th largest county in the state of New Jersey by population. And everyone says, oh, there's a million more Democrats and Republicans registered to vote. I mean, a lot of those people aren't voting Democrat. How could you? If you have a family, if you have a child, if you have a brain and a pulse, I mean, you really shouldn't be voting Democrat. But there are some that do. And our objective is to take the people that would have done it based on consistency or based on, whatever they did last time. We just need to give them the facts and the details. Showing people a video like that about Kamala Harris is a good way to do it. Let's bring up another one. This is from 2020, Dame. I just want to play this video real quick.
Okay.
This is a 2020 campaign ad from Harris and Biden. I forgot all about it, but I was reminded by a friend. Let's take a look at what they were talking about with equity then, because we're going to stick with the DEI for a little bit here.
So there's a big difference between equality and equity. Equality suggests, everyone should get the same amount. The problem with that, not everybody's starting out from the same place. So if we're all getting the same amount, but you started out back there and I started out over here, we could get the same amount, but you're still going to be that far back behind me. it's about giving people the resources and the support they need so that everyone can be on equal footing and then compete on equal footing. Equitable treatment means we all end up at the same place.
All right, I'll take this one to start off. Now, the difference between equality and equity, everyone has the chance to start off at the same place. That's equality. Equity is the equality of outcome. Now, in my business, I'm in construction. I'm a union carpenter. I'm a construction manager. If you don't produce, you get replaced. It's that simple. So if there's a guy that's not working as hard as me and he still gets paid and stays on the job, that's what equity is. Because it's going to kill, it kills the entire nation and kills the entire workforce because people think that they're owed something that they didn't earn. And that's what it is. If you don't produce, you get replaced. That's my main thing. I mean, that's what I've been taught my entire life by my father, my mother, and then every job that I worked at. And that's what it is. And it's about meritocracy. You don't get anything for free unless you need it. I get it. People go down and it's hard. And that's why they have those programs. But you can't just put the mentality in people's heads that you can just get everything for free. And I want to go back to real quick, Eric, to you were talking about the schools and stuff. I want to say I don't co-parent with the government, and that's a problem. And we've had people infiltrating our schools for a long time. And just look at it, goes to the open border too. It goes to DEI. If I had to get brain surgery, would you care what the person looked like?
Absolutely not.
I want the best person for the job.
You want the best person for the job. How about a pilot? You want to have just a pilot that identifies as something so they got the job. I mean, what do you think's going to happen? I mean,
I want the pilot to land that plane.
That's it. You want the very best pilot, right? I mean, you want the best doctors. Well, listen, they want to socialize medicine, Obamacare. They want to bring it back. I mean, you want to go for heart surgery and meet your heart surgeon for the first time on a table. Hi, I'm Dr. Jones. Nice to meet you, sir. I'm about to cut you open. Going to put a little valve in there. Let me ask you a question. Do you have any allergies to medication? Because that's what it's like in Canada. That's what it's like in other countries that have socialized medicine. It is really not a good direction for us at all. I mean, let's get back to this Communist Manifesto, gain control of all key positions in radio, TV, and motion pictures, control the media, right? Continue discrediting American culture by degrading all forms of artistic expression. An American communist cell was told to eliminate all good sculpture from parks and buildings, substitute shapeless, awkward, and meaningless forms. Did anyone watch the Olympics and the opening ceremony? I mean, how many more awkward, disgusting, and weird forms can you possibly have, in one location at one time? I mean, it's really pathetic. You had the table set just like Jesus in the Last Supper as depicted by Da Vinci. Okay, that's a direct attack. You had the woman or man or whatever it is in the center of that table wearing the headpiece that looks like a picture of Jesus would have the gold as if to depict that they are not just human but a godly individual or godly entity.
It's disgusting. I mean, well, why push it?
And then they put the blue guy on there. What's the person painted blue? Is that an attack on Hinduism? Because I believe their god, the elephant that's blue, is their most important and vital god in the Hindu religion. I don't know as much about it as I'd like to. And if anyone wants to help educate me on it, I'd be more than happy to listen. But there's an attack on that. And then you look at the white horse running through town. The four horsemen of the apocalypse. That's from Revelation 13, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, or 22. I forget which chapter. But the pale horse riding is one of the last four horsemen of the apocalypse. And then you have the golden calf, and you have some other really disgusting views. And then look at the sexuality. I mean, what does transgender have to do with the Olympics other than promoting biological males to compete in female sports? I mean, I have no idea, but all I'm telling you is that all these things, maybe individual, aren't cause for an alarm to be going off in your head. But when you compound and conflate a lot of these different items together and look at what's going on. It's scary. I mean, this is the point in time where you literally have to say, are we going to have another election? Is this the most important election of our lifetime? Every election is the most important election of our lifetime. This will be the last election of our lifetime if we don't win, and if we don't put Donald J. Trump back in the White House. What don't you like about Donald Trump? You don't like mean tweets? Sorry, not sorry. I mean, this guy standing in the breach, he took a bullet for defending what they say democracy.
Oh, no, Director Ray said it could have been shrapnel.
Well, no, but then they said they gave us permission, I think yesterday, to be able to say it was a bullet because he said it's a bullet. That is controlled by the government of the media. It's one and the same. And this is exactly what this manifesto is describing.
Yeah, but why would he go there? Why would Ray? He wasn't even asked the question. He just said it. Oh, we don't know the difference between if it was a bullet or shrapnel. Like, why even spark that for the people to look at? And it gives the news media things to say is that maybe he wasn't shot. Well, it doesn't matter if it was shrapnel or not. It was from a bullet. Either way. So what's the difference?
Because that's what the left does. They discredit the things that the right does, and they just because they say it, they expect people to believe it. I mean, weren't you driving around during COVID? I know a lot of conservatives, a lot of Republicans that were locked up in their houses too. I mean, I don't know why. I didn't change a single thing I did during COVID. I mean, why would I? I live in America. I would ask people them just directly. I'm like, do you know we're in America, right? I don't care what they say. That's my risk. If I want to go breathe some COVID infected air and take a risk to breathe it. I mean, honestly, I'm like a horse. I don't get sick. I don't think I'm going to get sick from COVID. There are a lot of people that did and do. I've had friends that have family members. I've had friends that died from COVID. It's awful. It's terrible. If you're susceptible to that stuff, you needed to stay home. But I mean, if you've got your health with you and you're willing to take that risk to go and feed your family, okay, feed your family. And we're told we can't go feed our family unless you are, what they call that, what type of worker was it where you're allowed to go do things? You know, they came up with a word for it. Essential workers, right? Okay. Anyone ever seen a movie about the Holocaust? I mean, that's what they used to call the Jews that were able to leave and go from the ghetto over to work for a day for a scrap of beef or bread. They'd call them essential workers.
Well, Eric, isn't everyone excuse me, isn't everyone an essential worker when you have a family to provide for?
Of course you are. And if you don't feel essential, okay, just look at your checkbook these days. Look at how much money we're spending to do the same things we did before COVID. I'm going to tell you something. I am blessed. You know, our household is stable. We make good income. Okay. But it's never enough. And it's way less that you got left over at the end of the day to provide for your family into the unknown future by saving money. You've got to put away something that you're making to save it for tomorrow. It's getting harder and harder for families, myself included, to put stuff away. I got 2 kids in college, you know, a couple car payments, but I live within my means. I live on what I make. I don't borrow money just because I want something today. Today, it's more important than ever to get back to your parents' values, really. Look at your parents. They had more money than you had.
Hey, you tell my wife
they had savings. I think we need to tell every wife and every spouse that. Happy spouse, happy house. Okay. And whoever said money doesn't buy happiness, they don't have any. Okay. You need money to live. That's just the way it works. You got to find happiness in other ways, but it can't hurt to have a little bit of extra money in your pocket, in your bank account. Max out your 401k. There's things to do to prepare. Because I'm telling you, just like Stephen K. Bannon was telling us every single day on his show, okay, it is going to be a rough and rocky road from now until election, because that's the way they want it. They are creating chaos every single day, every single minute, every single week, every single month. It gets harder and harder to see through it. You have to stay focused. You have to stand up. You have to say, here I am. What can I do? I had people that ask me, what can I do every single day, Damon? I'm starting to tell them, get involved with Turning Point Action. Get involved in Trump Force 47. My own family's asking me what they need to do. What you need to do is talk to another human being about what you're seeing and feeling, whether it's uncomfortable or not. Because when you're talking about something that's truth, it's always going to be uncomfortable. That's how you can tell it's the truth. Go, Damon.
No, I just wanted to ask you something. I don't know what your food shopping bill is now. It used to be roughly around 200 a week for me. Now it's 350. a week.
Well, that's a little
So-
bit more than 8% by my math.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I
No,
use
but-
the old school math, which is not racist, by the way, which they call new math racist. If you go to a school or ask an NJEA member, math is racist.
Math is racist.
You
now.
know
Yeah.
why it's racist, though? I learned why it's racist. Let's talk about this, Damon. Yes, I'm spending double what I spent on food. Okay, I'm spending double on what I spent on anything I need. Stuff I don't need, yeah, 8%. Okay. I don't know, 2x4. I don't need too many 2x4s in my house. I'm sure they're more than 8% too, by the way, because look at the price of housing. How are these young families going to start out and get a house?
They can't.
They can't.
They can't. Interest rates are way too high.
I
Got
mean-
kids coming out of college that can't afford a home or an apartment. Everything is sky high.
I mean, they're going into college, can't afford it. When they get out, all
Yeah.
they got's a college bill now, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I know my kids are going to college. Okay. I told them we're not taking any loans. Dad is going to go out and work harder. And based on the merit and based on my performance being the best I can be, the best at what I do, I'm able to afford to pay those payments. Okay. I didn't just lay down and say, let me take the easy path. Of course it's easier. Let me take a loan. Let me just put it on the bill, put it on the bill. Put it on the bill. When a kid gets out of a bachelor's degree where they're going to make just $50,000-$60,000 if they're lucky right now, maybe they're going to make 80. But I got news for you. You got to make $180. $180,000 is the new $100,000.
Absolutely.
Okay, and that's what they're saying. And I don't know a ton of people that are making 180 as a family for. I know many. Okay, but I feel certainly bad for the ones that aren't because there's been many years that I didn't and I needed it, and I didn't have it. So I have learned a couple things. One is, you're going to have to learn how to work within the system and outside the system simultaneously. Okay. Because control of your money is coming. It's days away. Okay. With cryptocurrency and the de-dollarization of the dollar, getting off the petrodollar, it's going to make that cash in your pocket worth the same amount as toilet paper. Maybe toilet paper is going to be more valuable than that paper. Who even knows? And the people that win from currency is the banks. Don't let anyone kid you. They're charging interest on every paper dollar that we have to our government. The Federal Reserve is not a federal government entity. Okay. It's a privately held bank institution. They hold all the cards. They got all the money and they have all the power. And then you got the power grabbers coming up from under that. And that's where the New World Order comes in. And that's what they're after.
Well,
infusing this communism into every facet of our society.
and that's what you have to realize, though. A lot of people don't realize the government doesn't have money. They don't generate any money.
Yeah, no, they collect money
they
from
collect
people
money
like
from
me and
us.
you off the backs
Yeah.
of Americans. Because guess
Exactly.
what? It's just like President Trump says. Okay. It's great patriots like you that built this country, and it is great patriots like you that are going to save this country. And I mean that most sincerely. Turning point action, Trump Force 47. Get on the ball, start making calls, talk to your friends and neighbors. Do not let politics be a passé thing that you're not allowed to talk about. You have to talk about it. Go ahead, Damon.
Well, just think about it. I mean, even with the open border, I mean, when the government controls our money, our taxpayer dollars, we spend this is in 2023, $454 billion. $454 billion on illegal immigrants. That's transporting them. It's paying for their housing. They get food stamps within 7 days. And we're paying for all of it. Not only that, we're the biggest funder of the UN. So, and the UN actually has, what do you call it? Like visa cards that they're giving people to come to Mexico to cross our border. So we're actually funding people to come here. We're flying people in planes too. And so we're funding people to come here and then we're paying for them. I mean, that's just the God's honest truth. I mean, it's a fact. I mean, if you don't believe me, look it up yourself.
I don't need to look it up. I'm looking at a piece of paper with those 45 items from the Communist
that's right here.
Manifesto. And guess what? It says, make sure that everyone believes that the United Nations is the only thing that could save the globe. And that starts with climate change. I said the other night on the podcast, I said, guys, you have to hear me on this. And not everyone agrees or understands it when I first say it. But if you think about it, it's absolutely true. Climate change is the biggest driving force of any of these other agenda items, including DEI, okay, including mass migration. I call it illegal immigration because that's what it is. My version of DEI is deport every illegal and start from today and go backwards. Vet these people. If you can't vet them, get them out. Criminals, get them out. They're in jail, get them out. Point being is they want you to look at the United Nations as the only thing that could save this world. Let me explain to you this. I've known it since the late 90s. The United Nations is not the United Nations for America. It's a United Nation against America. What don't people get? NATO, same thing. Globalist, global agendas, UNESCO, United Nation Education Science Foundation. Okay. It doesn't take, what about UNWRA in Gaza? Okay. Those employees of the UN are funding terrorism. They're taking the money from the UN. They're buying pipes and building bombs that they're firing into Israel. I mean, that's the United Nations for you. We need to drop out. And P.S. in 2017, President Donald J. Trump took us out of UNESCO and UNRWA. Okay. And in 2023, creepy, sleepy Joe Biden signed us back up, and we went big and long on the payments. We are funding a tremendous amount of money to the United Nations. It just simply needs to stop because they are not united. They're going to take up arms against us. All these illegal immigrants coming in that you see, they say, oh, these are military-aged males, military-aged males. Those aren't just words. Military-aged males. Get with it, okay? They're sending an army, and they're not sending their best. They're sending their worst out of criminals, mentally ill people, people that need the most.
Their crime is down 73% in Venezuela.
Yeah, because he locked them up. He took all the gang members and they put them in a max institution, supermax prison where they're never going to see the light of day again. And that's where criminals belong.
They're releasing them out of prisons.
Well, now they're releasing them. They're sending them to our border, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Oh, Venezuela, you're right. And it's happening from all over the world. I mean, how many people are coming from the Republic of China? I mean, that's our enemy.
That's where I mean, they're a huge enemy. And people don't realize that they're flying spy balloons over our country. And that's okay. Because Joe Biden is a weak president. This administration is the weakest administration I've ever seen in my lifetime.
I mean, China's about to make a move right now. I mean, they're going to go in because they need that microchip control for AI.
If that happens, if they
AI
take over
borders, hold on 1 second, Damon. Borders are Kamala Harris, the not border czar that she is the border czar. She's also the AI czar.
Oh,
okay. She doesn't know anything about intelligence. How's she going to know anything about artificial intelligence? I mean, her whole being is artificial. I mean, look at her. Maybe she is an expert in artificial intelligence, but I can tell you this about AI. AI is going to require more energy than the earth can produce. Okay. There's that. So climate is directly tied to AI. Climate's also directly tied to mass migration or illegal immigration because they blame it on climate, right? A lot of people are leaving because of the heat. It's too hot. Hey, listen, people, if you can't take the heat, get out of the oven, right?
No, the only thing about this whole climate change BS, if it's going to raise 1 degree in the next 100 years, the best thing about humans, they know how to adapt. We can adapt to a 1 degree temperature. So they're pushing it as a form of control because it's a government form of control. And they want to make you do, want to get rid of your gas stoves. They want to make you drive an electric car. We just spent billions of dollars on charging stations. How many did they put in? 8.
That's only $1 billion per charging station. Not a bad number. Here's the problem.
And they don't work.
How many of those had the little copper lines cut off from criminals that are looking to steal the copper and sell it as scrap? I mean, who even knows? That's happened now. What are they going to steal next when you're plugging in your Tesla? There's not much else to steal besides the copper. They're coming for you, sisters and brothers.
Even Elon Musk, the biggest manufacturer of electric cars, he's offered to give $45 million a month to Donald Trump for ballot harvesting and stuff like that, because he knows the Democrats are going to do that and try to cheat again. And he is the biggest manufacturer of electric cars. And he even realizes it, that we still need to drill for oil. We have, as Trump always says, liquid gold under our feet. We have to drill for it. We could be energy independent. And just look at it this way. We're funding Ukraine in a war against Russia. So when Biden got in, he shut down the Keystone Pipeline.
Not only that, but he also promoted the other pipeline coming from Russia to Germany, right?
Yeah,
and then blew it up.
Yeah, exactly. And then if you think about so we're funding Ukraine to fight Russia, but we're buying oil from Russia, so we're enriching Russia more, and we're also funding Ukraine. So we're on both sides of that war. We're paying for it. It's just unbelievable.
I don't know, Damon. It seems to me today, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist. And by the way, Stephen K. Bannon also says this: there's no such thing as conspiracies, but there's no such thing as coincidences either. Coincidences. Okay. And you go back to your Communist Manifesto. One of the biggest things is keep supporting Russia, even though they say they're bad. That's part of the communist regime. Same thing with China. It's all right here. 1963 communist goals. Google it, look it up. We talk about facts. We don't talk about AI generated advertising. We talk about facts, and we've got the receipts, don't we, Damon?
Exactly right. And if you look at it too, number 20 of this, it says infiltrate the press, get control of book review assignments, editorial writing, policymaking positions. Now, when you say infiltrate the press, I mean, don't you think they are? I mean, look at all the mainstream media. They lean one way. I know Fox kind of leans a little bit right. Newsmax leans a little bit right, but everything else and the lies that they tell in the media. That's why I wrote something before. It's called The Divided States of Media. And the media has so much control over what people think and everything. The propaganda that they put out there and the lies that they tell. I mean, when Eric just said about, oh, Kamala Harris was the border czar. Oh, no, now she's not the border czar. I mean, there was a clip out there that says it over and over again. Every mainstream media company said Joe Biden appointed her as the border czar, the border czar, border czar. Everyone, MSNBC, CNN, ABC, NBC. And then now all of them are saying, well, she was never appointed the border czar. Well, how'd that happen?
Well, Damon, let me put it to you this way. We're talking about the media and how the media is really running things and can really have a massive amount of control over what we say and think. So you and I, a couple weeks ago, I think it was on July 5th, you know, the NEA, National Education Association, was having their yearly convention in Philadelphia.
Oh, you got to play that clip.
I had no intention on going, Damon. Okay. I was working, but you know, I travel with a bullhorn in my truck, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I am ready to go. If I see somebody protesting, I'm either going to get on board with them or against them. Right. And I ended up calling you and you told me what you're doing. I said, Damon, I'll be there in 20 minutes, bullhorn in hand. Let's go. And I met up with a guy and he had a bunch of turning point action signs. One of them said, protect pedos, protect children, not pedos. So I was getting a ton of attention, if you can only imagine, right? I got this sign out there in front of the NEA. You got all these educators walking around. You got Planned Parenthood coming up to me saying, hi, we're from Planned Parenthood. I was like, yeah, good. What are you doing here? I was like, because these are educators. I mean, what would you have to do with anything with the school or teachers? I mean, what are we doing here?
There's no teachers, there's no kids.
I mean, whatever we're doing here, I could promise you this. We're against, you know, killing babies and we're against transgender children in school. So I'm sure we're against you. What can I do for you? And she went to go try and call her Antifa friends, remember? And she's like, I'm going to call some friends. I was like, you better, I think before you call them, you should find your permit because I got one and here it is. And if you come, you better have to explain to the 5-0 what you're doing on my corner, lady. Right. And she wasn't too happy about it. They don't like being interviewed on camera either.
No, they don't.
To this guy at the end.
You got to play that.
So let me set this clip up for you. So me and Damon are out there. I'm sitting there with the bullhorn saying that parents have the ultimate right to say how their children are raised in public schools. Take anything that's controversial out of public schools. The NEA is not elected. They have no right to say what's taught and how in our public schools. Meanwhile, during that conference, you see a few days later, they broadcast the president of the NEA talking like she's some kind of maniacal devil type woman. And we're out there protesting it, right? So this guy comes up to me and he says, so your sign says protect kids, not pedos. Are you saying educators are pedos? And before I started videoing them, I said, listen, my friend, I said, if the shoe fits, wear it, right? I mean, that goes along in life, you know, pretty much anything. I said, no, I don't think all educators are, but I said, they're teaching a lot of crazy stuff with sexualization and indoctrination of kids. Hey, do you mind if I interview you real quick? I'm going to record this. He said, sure, go ahead. Let's see what he had to say. Go ahead, tell us your thoughts.
Yeah, Trump's a rapist.
He's a rapist. Were you there? Were you witness to something? Were you witnessing to something?
I trust the women that said he's a rapist.
Really? So you trust the fact that Jean Carroll said in a post interview? Oh, who? Who else?
I think there were 27 women.
27? Oh, interesting. Where are you getting your news from? Where do you get your news?
Yes.
I got you. I have a website called ericsimkin.com. You should check it out. That's me. And it has a lot of solid news sources that you can get an unbiased filtering from. I would suggest take a look at it. ericsimkin.com. It's not self-promotion. It's just a good news source.
What happened on January 6th?
Do I agree with what happened to it? What happened on January 6th? You mean
like a bunch of people stormed the Capitol?
I believe that if you peacefully assemble, you have that right. There were some bad apples in there, but there's also a lot of federal agents involved too. How's Roy Epps doing? Is Roy Epps still Ray Epps? You don't know who Ray Epps is? Right. I really think that you need to get some good information from other sources, and then you do. I am. I'm getting it from you right now, Fitz. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. All right. Are you pro sexualization and indoctrination of children in public schools? You for that?
And we also
I
don't
hope
do
not.
CRT. I had to look
You
up
don't do that?
CRT.
You don't know what it is?
I did not know
Do you
what
have an
it is.
anti-racism program in your curriculum? Do you have anti-racism programs in your curriculum?
Yeah, pro-inclusion people, like
Inclusion? Okay, I got you. So, yes, he does. I asked 5 times. I said,
There is no consent. I'm right here. No consent. Phone
Okay.
shut down.
This is a single. This is a single
Okay, peace
consent
out.
state.
We're out. Fuck off.
Okay, enjoy yourself. Have a nice day, Fit. Nothing makes me feel better than getting told to fuck off by a radical left lunatic educator who's in there talking about how they're going to promote these ideologies to our children during this convention. I mean, at the NJEA convention every year, they're not even original. Every year now, they have a drag queen story hour there. Okay, I documented it very well. Okay, they had a thing called RISE this year in July. RISE. Don't ask me what the acronym stands for, but let me just give you an idea of what their logo looked like. You know that thing we were talking about where you put the body of Christ in before you take communion.
Yes.
It's a gold thing. Okay, well, the outer perimeter was that, which means that to me that they're basically creating and promoting a new state religion. Okay, you heard me right. State religion. They promote separation of church and state because they want a new religion with no God. That is a fact. You can Google it and fact check me all you like. That's what's going on in education. Pull your kids. And we do not put co-parent with the government. But let me go on to say this. Policy 5756. If you live in New Jersey and your children go to government schools, okay, policy 5756 says that if a child, no matter what age, doesn't matter if it's preschool through 12th grade, they decide that they want to change the name that they're using at school, their pronouns that they use to identify their gender, okay, or any other thing they want to be called, they can do that. And the school, they can tell the parents in New Jersey, okay, but they do not have to. And if they're not required to, I can assure you that there are many, many children out there that are being treated under this policy for gender dysphoria or whatever you want to call it without the parent's knowledge or consent. I can tell you as a parent, if something ever happened to one of my kids and that occurrence happened because I didn't know that they were struggling with a mental health concern and that school hid it from me, I don't think I need to tell you what I would do, Damon, because I'm going to tell you as a father, I would do anything for my children. And I mean anything. And if someone, that would be a direct
Eric, I would
inflict of pain to my family, and someone would feel pain. And I'm not threatening anybody physically. I'm just telling you, you wouldn't want to be in my way.
Eric, not just because I'm in construction, I would tear down the entire goddamn world and rebuild it for my children.
I mean,
That's as
what
far-
parent
that's
wouldn't?
That's as far as I would go to the ends of the earth for them. And if somebody else, like I said, I don't co-parent with the government. You know, the teachers, I give them credit. They teach, you know, and they're supposed to teach regular curriculum. It's a job. But when you hide things from the parents, you can't do that because they say that, you know, they hide it because the child doesn't will feel like he's not treated well at home if they were to tell the parents.
Right. So what would you tell your
they're my
parents?
parents.
What would you tell your what would
you
you tell teacher? Yeah, I think they're going to kill me if they found out, right? Because that's what kids do. They say things that they don't mean, and they mean things that they don't necessarily say.
There's a lot of shit I did
They're
when I was
kids.
younger. If my parents found out about it, they would have killed me. And
Exactly.
they did find
But
out
guess
about
what?
it.
Here we are living and breathing,
Yeah,
damn. And
yeah.
somehow miraculously, without the NJEA and without the public government education system, without DEI, without policy 5756, guess what? Miraculously, we found a way to live it to this point,
'Cause
despite it.
It goes back to common sense. It's just common sense.
Common sense means something to me and you, but when you have the opposite happening, it's like, then are these people saying that this is common sense? I mean, if you are, I'd love for you to reach out to me and explain to me how it is. Maybe there is something I need to learn. Maybe I'm totally off. Maybe you're right. I doubt it.
And the best thing to have a conversation with somebody, I love having conversations with people that don't agree with me. And the reason why, because always, maybe you could teach me something. Maybe I can teach you something. That's the whole point of having a conversation. I don't cut anybody off because they believe in one thing or the other, or they're left or they're right, or they're Democrat or Republican. You know, I still want to talk to people, but the people that disagree with me are most important, because when you ask them the question and they have this radical ideology and you ask them to explain it and you say, well, where did you hear that from?
Crickets. All you hear is crickets.
Exactly. That's what it is. And they can't explain themselves. I mean, when when I had that conversation with that couple in Cherry Hill when we had that meeting, and they couldn't. I asked them certain questions and they couldn't explain it. And I said, "Well, do you have any kids?" And they said, "No." Obviously, they didn't. So I said, "Well, my kids believe in Santa Claus. You know why? Because I tell them that Santa Claus is real. They believe in Tooth Fairy because I tell them Tooth Fairy is real. Now, as they get older, they're not going to do that. But and a lot of it has to do with the parents too. So parents need to stand up. They need to realize what's going on in the schools. And it's not every teacher. I don't want to bash every teacher because there's a lot of good teachers out there. But it's just the curriculum that they're pushing, that this far left is pushing. They're pushing everything. I mean, this country is going to shit. I mean, just think about it. I mean, even go back to the other day when they had that the protest in Union Station. They ripped down 3 American flags on live TV, burned them, screamed Allahu Akbar, burned that shit, and they burned our flag on live TV. And they raised Palestinian flags. They had Iranian flags. They had ISIS flags. They had Hamas flags. Like, at what point are people going to wake up and say, you know what? Our culture is getting removed from this country. And all the people that are in this country illegally, they hate the country. And we're being infiltrated. And then we're also having our kids indoctrinated by far left teachers and putting stuff in their brain and thinking that it's okay. Now, I don't know if anybody else saw the videos from October 7th. Now, they are videos that I saw that I can't unsee. It's unbelievable. It's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life. I mean, the rape women, and people say, oh, well, there's casualties of war. No, there was no war. They came in and they kidnapped people. They murdered people. I mean, who parachutes in and shoots a bunch of high school kids at a concert? And
so I went and saw that movie Nova. Okay, this was I don't know, 1,400 kids or so, maybe 3,000 kids actually, that were there at a music festival. Okay, I will tell you that in that part of Israel, when you hear the word kibbutz, it's a communal living type of scenario. They are Jewish people. They live on this kibbutz as a community. They all work together. They actually do raise their children like a village. So it's pretty much the most leftist type of area that you could possibly have in Israel. And there was no discrimination against conservatives in that. They were killed simply because they're Jews. And they would do the same thing to us simply because we're Americans. And that's what I keep telling you. What we need to do is go back to our Communist Manifesto here, because it tells you belittle all forms of American culture, discourage the teaching of American history on the ground that it was only a minor part of the big picture, give more emphasis to Russian history since the communists took over, support any socialist movement to give centralized control over every part of the cultural, education, social agencies, welfare programs, mental health clinics, etc. What this means, ladies and gentlemen, divide and conquer. That is the communist socialist way. And there's only one difference between communists and socialism, because it all leads to the same place, which is little for everybody. And that is how they take control, whether it's violent or not. If it's violent, it's communism. If it's not violent, it's socialism. We are guaranteed in our founding documents in America something called domestic tranquility. And what that meant is that the federal government, one of their main roles is to ensure that Americans are able to live freely and in peace, and that there are never times where there are outcries so badly in protests that they become violent. And these are the exact same things that we're seeing occur today. And that just reminds me of the beginning phrases of the Declaration of Independence. And I read them to you the other day, Damon. I'm going to read them to you now. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with one another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal separation to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. This is what we were talking about when we separated ourselves from England. And this is what we're talking about today. What's that separation going to look like? Hopefully all that it looks like is an election of President Donald J. Trump. And I hope it doesn't look like anything more or worse than that. But I know this. I am prepared to answer the call. Here I am, America. I am ready to stand up, and I am ready to stand up for your families and mine. I want you to start following us on The Political Badass. Check me out at www.ericsimkin.com. ERICSIM as in Mary, KIN as in Nancy.com. www.ericsimkin.com. Hold the line, people. Stand in the breach. Stand up. Get it right. And don't make this the last election that we ever have. Damon, let's finish up.
Yeah, we got to wrap up here. But yes, Eric, I'm 100% with you. I've said it multiple times already. I'm in construction. I love my job. I love what I do for a living. I never thought I would get involved in politics. I always followed it very closely until I had my children. And once I seen what was going on, I never in my life thought I would run for Congress. And I ran for Congress on a whim out of nowhere. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to do it. But I figured it out, and I had a great team behind me. A lot of people came out of the woodwork, and they just supported me because they wanted something different. They wanted to change. And it's contagious. If everyone stands up for what they believe in, everyone just cares about their city, their state, their country, because even in local politics are what fuels a state. And when you fuel the state, it sparks a nation if we start from the beginning. And that is a very important thing. And everyone needs to have their voices heard. Go out and vote on November 5th. And make it count. Make sure that your vote counts. And I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. I'm voting for Donald J. Trump, but I think you should. But it's up to you. But either way, if you vote for Kamala Harris, I think that you need to get your brain checked. That's all.
And I'd like to just sum it up with this. I'd like to just share with you one last prayer. It's Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He causes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in a path of righteousness for his name's sake. Even as I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You set a table before me in the presence of my adversaries. You anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord for the length of days. Everybody, God bless you. God bless America. God bless Donald Trump, and God bless your families.
I want to say one more thing. Well, I didn't have to go to church today with all the prayers, so that's good.
Yeah, you don't need to when you're hanging with Eric Simpkin, Political Badass.
That's right. But no, I want to thank the PPN, Patriots Prayer Network, for hosting us and all that. There's many other podcasts on there. So if you go to thepatriotsprayer.com, check out every other podcast as well. And absolutely tune back in for ours. We're going to be on every Sunday at 12 and probably pick another day, at least start 2 podcasts a week for now. So we're just starting this off. We got to work it with our work schedules. But
and we value your feedback. Send it to us.
Yes, get it on that chat box and we'll answer your questions. Thank you very much.
Last night I heard this politician talking about his brand new mission. Liked his plans, but they came undone when it got around to God and